All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the first time in Success Spotlight history that I don't have to say good morning as well with that, because for at least everybody that's on here, this should cover everybody to be in the afternoon, whether it's just beginning to be noon or, of course, it's 3 o'clock for a guy like me. But welcome to the 19th edition of Success Spotlight, or our August edition. So it's crazy to think that we've been doing this now 19 months in a row. And obviously haven't missed, and I've had some really great guests. So as we normally do in the Q&A section, that'll be where you ask questions throughout the next 30 to 45 minutes as they come up. Obviously through the question and answer, we've been able to uncover some really great things. But my name, of course, is Nolan Duda. I'm the Client Experience Manager for IdealTraits, and today we have such a great story that I'm so excited for you guys to hear, because I think that it's one that everybody needs to hear, no matter what position that you're in your agency today, and no matter what your goals are. So today's guest is Josh Arnold. So Josh is a farmer's insurance agent in the second best Great Lakes state of Minnesota, right behind Michigan. So he might actually leave now that I've said that. But nonetheless, he started scratch at his agency in 2023 and has been awarded several awards throughout the last 2 years, including Blue Vase, Toppers Club, which is top 10% in farmers, New Store of the Year, the Leadership Award, which means that he had the most premium written within his district, and then also the 2024 Life Changer Award. So last year at this time, once we'll get into sort of the background of how the story works, but last year at this time, Josh had 0 staff members. In June and July, he had lost his only 2 staff members. And fast forward to today, and Josh has 7 full-time staff members in his agency today, with 4 more on the way starting over the next couple of weeks, which is super exciting. And again, we'll talk more about. So in terms of someone that's had ultimate success in hiring people over the last 12 months, growing his agency and taking it from where it was a year ago to where it is today, that is Josh. So Josh, especially with all the things you had going on, the growth, new people, training, managing, agencies gotten so much bigger, I appreciate you taking 45 to an hour out of your day to join us here. So welcome to Success Spotlight, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this discussion today.
Of course. And I will say, when I asked Josh to do this, he said, what time, what place, how can I get back? So he considers himself to be an open book, which I'm sure he'll tell you himself too as well. So we'll surely go through some very important stuff here too as well. But something that Josh and I were just joking about before we went live is what Josh was doing before he started his farmers insurance agency a couple of years ago. So Josh, if you want to give that rundown of all the different opportunity that you went through before you got to where you're at today, I think people would love to hear that.
I mean, just before this, I worked in the automotive industry, worked for Ford as a master warranty administrator. I worked a year in a phone center working on pension and health benefits for 10 clients. I worked at Gedney for a year or 2 as a quality control for the Minnesota Pickle Company. I worked 10 years at Target in retail, working days, nights, and lots of experience when it comes to different managerial positions. And really, I've been able to pull from all of them as an agency owner to help me run my business. So
absolutely. Yeah, a lot of different stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. But I have no doubt that you're absolutely correct that they all play their part in, obviously where you're at today, right? So usually with Success Spotlight, Josh, sort of what we get into at first, which is very interesting because depending on who the guest is, there's people that have been in business for 25 years that have been a guest on this session, and I'll have to sort of kind of go back to talk about how things have changed and where they've been at. But I think really, for you 2 years ago, and then really an influential moment, it seems like last year in that summer months, to where sort of a switch just flipped for you, to where you now sort of came to the conclusion, the more people, the better the situation I'm going to be in, despite sort of the difficulty it had been with, hiring and training and keeping good people. So I guess we'll start there, because I liked something that we talked about yesterday during our prep meeting, and you mentioned mindset a lot, right? So in terms of mindset, when, last year at your agency, going from 0 staff to now, 11, if we fast forward a month. So what changed for you, and what did you do a little bit differently in terms of your planning of your process to get to where you're at a year later?
it was dedication to hiring. That was the biggest change, right? I'm sitting there just over a year ago with a text ready to go to my DM going, I can't do it. I don't know what to do. I've tried, I keep failing.
Yeah.
And the realization was, it doesn't matter how many staff you have, you need more. Like it's the way it is. Something had kind of rung true with me too, as uh, about 6 months before the middle of last year, I got to meet a larger agent. And the one thing he told me is, look, it's a numbers game. It's all about staffing. Go hire 50 people, go rent out a warehouse. I asked him if he was going to be able to possibly spot me and bankroll me for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was just doing that. So I'm sitting there with this text. I'm like, well, one, I can't do it for my family. I can't give up. Can't
Yeah.
teach my daughters that. And then two, I can't do it for myself. So at that point, it became, what do I need to do to move forward to hit the success that I want?
Mhm.
And the pure answer was hiring. So still to this day, I set aside 3 days a week minimum for just interviewing. I typically do 20 to 25 interviews a week between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I try to make sure that I'm available. Like Tuesdays, I'm during the day, 9 to 5. Wednesdays are 9 to 8. Thursdays are 9 to 8, so that I can allow people to interview at night after they're off work. And the focus is I need to get bodies in here that want to do this. I'm a believer in Farmers Protege program, helping them learn, again, teaching them my mistakes so that they don't make the same ones.
Yeah.
You learn more from failure than success. So I teach all that, but get bodies in the door, get the experience, and make sure we do a proper training so that they can move forward with their careers.
100%. Yeah. And it really does, lead into that, and can tell that you obviously take a genuine interest into people and helping them reach their goals, whether that's eventually having them open their own farmers agency, right? Which I
Mhm.
know that, pretty much every brand of insurance and has sort of those programs set up, but then also in the independent world, it happens all the time too. But then, in addition to that too, as well, if they decide that that's not something for them, obviously, being a great insurance sales producer or service staff for you for a long time is something that can be great too, right? And there's people that want to fit either of those sides, you know what I mean? So that's awesome. But again, congratulations, as I've told you a couple times, on how much everything has obviously gone well for you over the last year, and it really was that mindset and sort of that dedication that you mentioned. So in terms of hiring, right, it was something that probably you weren't doing all of that often, but now I'm sure people would be interested to hear, because you have 7, you have 4 starting next month. What's the goal? What are you trying to get to, let's say, by the end of next year? I suppose would be a good time to 2026.
Well, let's do a little bit. My goal is to have 50 staff by the end of this year.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Yeah.
I want to have as many as possible. I'm open to remote, multiple states. I built my agency to work with remote, so it doesn't matter. Um, by the end of next year, I want a second location,
Oh,
and within 3 years, I want a third location. I want to hit within 5 years. I'm trying to get to 30 million in premium. That would
mhm.
be my goals.
Yeah. And one of the main things that you need to get there is good people, right?
100%. That your staff is your agency. There's nothing that you have that is more valuable in your agency than your staff.
Mhm.
That is the key to success.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. Agency, any type of business, that is the truth, right? Your business is what your employees represent and who they are and what they bring, right? So, all right, fantastic. So obviously, for some folks on here, like, they hear 50 by the end of the year, and they're like, "Whoa, pump the brakes," right? I mean, that's okay, right? Because the reason I bring that up for you folks that are watching and listening is because your goal doesn't have to be to find 50 people in the next, by the end of this year, right? It could maybe just be to find one person, right? And you've been struggling to be able to make that happen, similar to probably the situation that Josh was in, just 12 months ago, right? 14 months ago, something like that, right? So trust that, your goal, no matter what it looks like, whether it's one person, whether it's 50, whether it's 500, right? We're going to talk about the things that you need to do in order to help yourself get there, right? So, all right. Let's talk about really the first step in the hiring process, Josh, which is, of course, going to be job ads. So, a lot in these days, you got templates that are out there. You've got this, you've got that. You've got people going to Indeed and copying and pasting from somebody's job ad and making it their own, right? So, what's your process when it comes to that, and how are you setting yourself apart?
So originally, when I first really focused on this, obviously I use IdealTraits and I set up all 5 of my ads, and I focused just on what I wanted, whether it was a producer, whether it was a life specialist, and I focused on the ideas that I felt were important to share. Right? I don't want that copy and paste from just someone else's ad. It's got to be about me, right? It's got to be what I like. As I have grown, though, this isn't rocket scientist at the same time. It's about getting your information out there. might make you cringe. I love ChatGPT, right? Put in there what you want. I want a job ad for a producer, and you take the parts you like and then customize what you need. Take a look. I don't usually just take an ad straight from there, but I will take, um, this is what I've typed up, make this better, make it more precise. I never claim to be the best at anything, so I use all the help I can get, especially when it comes to that stuff. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just go out there, at least getting an ad out there and sponsoring it. You don't have to sponsor it for a ton, but just get it out there, get it sponsored, and do as many as you can so that you can have a good variety of people, right?
Mhm.
I'm in a small town. If you focus on just one area, you're not going to get enough. So I do all over where I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So
Yep. And again, that sort of feeds into a popular topic, which is like remote and how do I do this? How do I do that? Right. So you don't necessarily have to hire remote employees, but Josh is absolutely right. Like you can diversify your job ads. What you don't want to do, and I'm sure this is something that you advise against, is just taking 5 of the same job ad and posting them 5 times. Yeah.
nope.
That's going to get you in Indeed jail, right? As they call it. So what's important to do, guys, if you're listening and if you're like, okay, let me try this a little bit, right, is to diversify your job ads. So add different things that are in there and use ChatGPT or the AI within IdealTraits if you have that within your package to help you, right? Like that's what it's there for. None of us, right, on this call are here because we're such good job ad writers, right? We're quite frankly, we're probably pretty terrible at it, right? So that's why we have tools like ChatGPT and the AI within IdealTraits to give us that blueprint, and then we add our own personal touch to it. And then you mentioned sponsorship. So do you usually have a budget set forth, or does it vary?
Every job I sponsor for $50. I do the minimum, right? Because
Okay.
I look at what the job's going to require. So if I go onto it and it says, hey, for $50, you're going to get 30 applicants. Okay, great. If I go to sponsor on Indeed and it says, well, it's going to get you 4. My first call is to my account manager on Indeed and go, why? Why is this only going to get 4? Is it the wording? Is it what I selected? So having a good connection with your manager through Indeed or wherever it is, talk to them. It can tell you why an ad's only going to get 4.
Yeah.
And that changes a lot.
100%, right? They control the algorithm. So, being close to their IdealTrade support team as well as with Indeed support team, that's going to create the best return on investment for you. And again, sponsorship, we talk about it a lot here on Success Spotlight. So if you're a usual guest that attends these, you should see that as something that's, coming true. Like a lot of the agencies that we have on here, they'll talk about sponsoring. We had Jeremy Olson about a couple months ago, who's like, I sponsor for $1,000, right? $1,000 might be outside of your budget, but Josh sponsors for 50, and you said what? You're getting like 30 to 40 applicants a month per job ad.
So I will do all 5 ads at $50. So I spend about $250 a month. Now, if one ad burns through it really quick, if I get 20 applicants in 10 days, I'm gonna sponsor it again because I want to keep those people coming in. I want to keep, if something is hitting hard and it's doing well, keep feeding it. Right? That's just how it works.
100%.
So I'm not afraid to spend a little bit extra money on an ad to try to get that candidate.
100%. And for those of you that are maybe like, I don't know what sponsorship is, or maybe you've never created an Indeed account, I did just put a link into the Q&A section that takes you to the IdealTraits Help Center article that shows you how to go through the process of creating an account with Indeed through IdealTraits. When you do that, you get a $100 credit to use towards sponsorship. So what you can do is you can kind of just get started with it and try it, right? Again, Josh is looking to hire 50 people this year. So if you're like, wow, 50 times 5, 250 a month, wow, that's a lot of money. You don't have to do that, right? But what you can do is if you need a CSR or you need one salesperson, you could sponsor your job ad for $50, get those applicants in the door, hire your person, then go back to organic as you passively recruit, right? So again, don't think from what Josh just said that you need to start allocating $250 a month. If you want to do that, do it because it'll help you just like it's helped Josh, right? But you can do it to where it's, the $50 when you're ready to hire and go through that process. So we did get a question here from Stephen Krause. So Steve, it's good that you're here because I saw you register yesterday, and we have Lisa, who's an employee here, whose last name is also Krause, and her husband's name is Steve. So when you registered, I was like, Steve, like he works at GM, he works at General Motors. Why is he registering? But it looks like you work at a district in Illinois, I think is what I saw. So welcome, Steve. It's good to see you. But Josh, he had asked, do you have any proteges? If so, what did the ad look like to attract future business owners? So Indeed, of course, does not, or the job boards in general, not even focus on Indeed, the job boards in general don't love that business owner opportunity verbiage. But Josh, I'm sure you'll shed some light on sort of how you've been able to do that. And for those wondering what a protege is, that's farmers insurance specific language. But you know, you can talk about apprentice programs, agent, associate, all these different things that are out there. But sorry, Josh, I'm kind of diluting the question. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm a firm believer in proteges. I currently have 5 in training. I've graduated 3 this year. I helped someone last year open up, buy a book of business. I trained 4 staff for my proteges. So I am a firm believer in the protege program. It's necessity in the farmers agency in order to continue to grow. It's a great, not just to help people, but it can help financially as well. I love unique titles. This is also where ChatGPT comes in. I will come up and say, look, I want uh, I want a protege this and this, what I'll say. So one of my titles for the longest time was stepping into an agency apprenticeship pathway, right? Grabs you. It's not the, do you want to be a manager? Do you want your own? It's something different. Empowering agents apprenticeship program. And that would pass, it would take it out of that realm of, we don't like business owners, but it would get them past that and it would actually be okay. Um, Agent Catalyst, a professional apprenticeship. Come up with something unique. And every ad, I would run 5 protege ads for a while, and all 5 had different titles. And I'd run them in 5 different cities.
Yep.
Sometimes different states.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love proteges. I think they're a phenomenal option. And again, with my ups and downs, I think it's important for an opportunity to teach people my failures so that they don't make the same, so they have a better opportunity to be successful.
Yeah.
So
That's a really good point, because you know, if you leave that and be like, all right, cool, go post 5 protege job ads all across a couple different there's a couple caveats there, right? The job ads are different. He's probably not saying the word protege because you need to stay away from that language, and he's sponsoring his job ad, right? So you have to, if you're looking to sort of replicate the process, can't skip steps, right? So Steve, hopefully that helps. If anything, other questions, I'm sure would be, you know, happy to go through them. And yeah, great suggestion. So good there. And then this is a great question from George here. We're about to segue into this, the conversation of licensed versus unlicensed, remote versus in-office, sort of your preference there, Josh. And it looks like George is asking questions in the vein of, hey, I have too many unlicensed candidates. I need to hire licensed candidates. What can I do there? So if we want to start with preference on remote versus in-office and licensed versus unlicensed, and then we'll get straight to George's question too.
certainly. So obviously my first conversation is, look, if you can make it to the office 3 days a week for the first 3 months, I don't care if you're next door or you're 2 hours away. I have people driving an hour and a half every day, 3 days a week, just to get in office, because the success that you can have is multiplied by being around other successful people, hearing what people say. Again, I tell them I'm not the best at selling, but what I do works for me. Listen to every sales technique, pull up phone calls, everything's recorded, listen to those calls and see what went well, take bits and pieces and make it your own. So I encourage people to be here, but it is not a requirement. If someone is 4 or 5 hours away, I just hired someone that's literally 6.5 hours away from me, same state, but they're concerned about it. I built out an entire agency through Discord. It's an online server. It's free. So I built an agency. I've got desks. I've got help topics. I've got all this stuff built into it, and I can share um, screens with them so that I can see what they're doing. I can see what they're doing. I can help them if they're struggling. And I also have a very strong belief that I don't care if you've been here 2 days, 2 months, 2 years. If someone has a question, someone helps them. If you know the answer, help. So I build that helping. You guys will probably laugh. I have an HR background. I hate when HRs at companies are like, we are family. We are not family. Okay, we're not family. I expect my staff to work really well together and help each other out. If they want to hang out after work, great. I'm usually here till 8 or 9 at night. I want to go home, see my family, spend time with them, right? So, but we help each other out. That is the key to my agency, is that we help each other out. As far as licensed or unlicensed, I don't care. I almost prefer if they are unlicensed. And the reason I say that is I don't have to break the bad habits of somewhere else to make them fall into the category of what I'm looking for. I don't want that hard-nosed salesperson that is going to make someone cry and make them force them into a policy. Not what I'm here to do. Not what I want. I'm about building relationships, building rapport, 80% of our conversation should be that. I almost would rather take them scratch and build them up, show them what we're looking for. I don't let them start until they're licensed. So we go through the process. Farmers offers free training. I do reimbursement opportunities for their licenses and everything, but they can't start at my agency until they are licensed. So, and they have to have both licenses because of the way I do my pay. They have to sell life as well as commercial in order to earn commissions.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you brought that up too, because one of the things yesterday that we talked about that literally I was like, I can't believe that was like, because we talk a lot about passively recruiting and always keeping candidates in your funnel, right? And people are like, well, like, how do you do that? But what really was like, holy crap, like this is a supercharged process. Why don't you tell the people, Josh, how many people that you've got in your pipeline that are like warm leads in a recruiting sense?
So, I mean, I've got the 4 people starting this month. I currently have, I just had 2 yesterday. So I think I have 19 people currently on my board that are in licensing right now. I have no more interviews today, so I don't have any more really this week, but I'm waiting to hear from 4 more this week that I offer positions to. And right now next week, I already have 21 interviews scheduled for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Did you say 21?
21.
Yeah. All right. There you go, folks. Right. 19 people in the pipeline. So like keeping them is, we'll talk about engagement in a second, but rest assured, he's not letting them just sit there, right? Like he's communicating with them. But I love this, guys. You guys are firing in a lot of questions. So this is outstanding, right? And it just proves to how good this conversation is going. All right. So George, you kind of heard it there, right? It considers both. Preference kind of leans towards unlicensed, but if you need some help tailoring your job ad, of course, the job boards are great, but they're the largest provider of qualified people, the largest provider of unqualified people, right? So unqualified candidates are always going to be a part of it, but reach out if you're not already sponsored. We can talk about that and maybe get you involved with the credit, but then also maybe tweaking your job ad a little bit too. So just reach out. We'll be there to help you. Got another question from Melissa here. Josh, I heard you mention hiring remote in other states. Please elaborate a little. Do they hold a license under your state as a non-resident?
Yep, they have to. I mean, I'm licensed in 5 states, but they have to be licensed in Minnesota. So it would be, a license from out of state. So, but that is a requirement if they want to do this. A lot of people, though, I am finding are looking to relocate. So they're looking for something eventually to move to. But no, they are required to hold a license in Minnesota because that is the primary state. Minnesota, Wisconsin are 2 that we focus on primarily. So they do have to.
Makes sense. All right, fantastic. Annie, I do see your question here. We'll get to that in a second. We are going to talk about leads once we sort of kind of get through that hiring process. So know that we're going to come back to you. Melissa says I love the help one another attitude, true teamwork. Absolutely. And I'm sure, Josh, it takes some of the question and answering off of your plate, right? So having, 7 people all come and ask you questions probably will drum up, will just make your day a lot harder, right? And then Steve's back with another question. Do you require sales experience?
No, honestly, it's my biggest factor is desire. Well, I can teach them anything else. I'm a firm believer in what I do. I'm a firm believer in what we've created. I have a phenomenal sales manager. We've created a wonderful system to make sure they're up and running.
Mhm.
They just have to want it. I can't provide them the want and the desire. Everything else I can help them with.
Yeah, no doubt, right? You can train them on the insurance, 100%, right? All right. Stephanie, I see you got a question here. Stephanie, it's good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well over there in Missouri. How do you make sure they are paying for themselves, or what time frame are you giving them to meet production goals? So that's, I would imagine, kind of relevant to like the first 90 days. Like, how do you know that, this is going to be someone that's probably going to be there for a while?
And I am a firm believer of not rushing to fire. I know that sounds silly. You have to know your person, right? I'm not the one that's like 2 weeks in, they're done. Now, if they're not online, they're not doing what they're supposed to, we have conversations. But if you spend all that time interviewing them, hiring them, making sure they get licensed, you got to give them due diligence. So, I mean, their first month, they are told they are expected to get close to the minimum sales requirement to earn commission. We usually have them selling on day 5 with the way our system are set up. And so we get them going right away. I'm a firm believer, and this might tip my hand a little bit. I provide leads. I don't believe in cold calling. I don't like cold calling because I don't want to do it. I'm not going to ask them to do it. I provide live transfers and I provide data leads. So we get them up and running. They have to have a sale before they get that. My goal is first month, they have to get close. Month 2, they should be getting it and exceeding it. Month
Mhm.
3, they should be blowing it out of the water. I lay out for them how they can sell 63,000 in a month, what they have to do every day, calls they need to make, sales they need to make. So we have everything laid out, and everything can be done backwards.
Mhm.
This is a different philosophy too. I know what I need to make money, but it's more important as well that I can give anyone a goal. They have to tell me what their goals are, because if I can get them to meet their goals, I will be just fine. So they need to tell me what they want to make a month. I will reverse engineer what they need to sell so that they know exactly what they need to do. And they are going to be much more dedicated and focused on doing that than if I tell them, I want you to sell 50,000 this month.
Mhm.
Doesn't have a connection for them. So make sure that your staff is involved and they're focused on it. Find out what they want. I just down every month with my staff. What are you looking to make? Do you want to do more this month? What went well last month? What didn't go well? Let's focus on that so we can make it better this month and I can pay you more. I tell all of my staff I want to pay them 100,000 every year. I break down how I can do it. They tell me what they need to do,
Mhm.
and I'm just fine with it.
Yep. Outstanding. And Andy, that kind of answered your question as a part of that, right? So, yes, he's generating, you're paying for leads, but then they're also, I imagine, doing some cold calling too, right? So,
Businesses, we definitely do cold call, but most of our leads are just data or referrals or live transfers. So I look to have a budget anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 per person a month.
yep,
That's
yeah,
what I do here in Minnesota, and those are my goals.
yeah. And then take a look at that. I mean, we talked about this yesterday, right? You meet consistently with your lead vendor reps, right? So it's putting together the plan, crunching the numbers, making sure it works, make sure it makes sense, right? So, don't just throw money at the wall, I guess is the message, you know?
No, I spend 4 to 6 hours every week with my lead vendors, and I use 4 or 5, my primary Smart Financial and Data Lot. I My Smart Financial, what I do is I can actually tell you every lead where it comes from in the state. I can tell you which counties we sell the best in, which zip codes we sell the best in. I can tell you whether 55331 is a great area for uh, homes and auto because they don't get hail, and 55368 might be a too high of a hail county, so I'm going to go for renters and auto. We narrow it down that specifically. I run 9 or 10 different profiles
Yeah.
to constantly generate new leads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's dedication to it.
Yeah. Shout out Smart Financial. Andrew Rassens, good friend of mine, works there. He just dropped his first song, first single. He's a reggae. He's got a reggae band. So if you're into that, reach out to Smart Financial. Have him plug you with Andrew, and he'll sure he'll appreciate you streaming a song on Spotify or whatever you use. All right. Steve had asked, do you require all 4 lines in terms of a license, or do you have specialists for like life, commercial?
I am now, because that is one of my beliefs, is that I want the 4 corners, right? I want my
Yeah.
property and casualty doing really well. I want a FSA or life and annuities, that kind of stuff. I want a division there. I want a commercial division, and I want a Medicare and health division. Those
Yeah.
are what I want. So I have recently hired a life specialist, 25 years of experience, and that is what they focus on. However, any of my producers or proteges must have all 4 lines because they have to be well-rounded if they're going to be successful.
All right, fantastic. All right, we do have 2 more questions, one from Brandy, one from Melissa. We're going to hit pause on the questions just for a second, right? Because we, kind of bounced around there, but the questions are great, right? Because that's the stuff that you guys want to hear about. So we're going to keep firing the questions in. Melissa, Brandy, we will get back to you, I promise, before we end here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. But so Josh, tell us a little bit about, we talked about the job ad, and we of course talked about a variety of different things throughout those questions, but when using, I guess, the IdealTraits assessment and engaging with the candidates through the system, do you incorporate multiple communication devices? And then how much are you leaning on the assessment to make your hiring decisions?
The assessment is more for me as if they can follow direction.
Okay.
Hey, I want you to do it. I need it done. I like to see what they come back as. However, that just leads me to change how I'm going to manage them. I'm a firm believer that you cannot manage the same for every person. You need to adapt to that person and how they learn well. If someone learns really well hands-on or someone's hands-off, right? You have to be able to adapt. So I
Yeah.
use the assessment that way because I want to know what they come back as. That's how I use it. I know that you can take the assessment, and depending on the day, your mood, what's going on, it can come back a little bit different, but it gives you a good idea in that moment what's going on in their life. So that's how I really like having them do that for that. My follow-up with each person, You can't just drop. You can't be like, hey, you're hired, great. I'll hopefully talk to you in 6 weeks. Just let me know how it goes. Weekly, I am texting them, emailing them. I've created a pipeline. I use Agency Zoom for my CRM. I've created a hiring pipeline. So I know where they're at, what they're doing, when their test dates are. I can tell you how things are going. Every week I'm messaging and talking to them. How's it going? What's up? If I don't hear from someone for a week, it becomes more pressing. Hey, haven't heard from you. What's going on? The idea is of all the people on my board, I don't expect most of them to make it through. It's tough. It's not easy to become an insurance agent. But getting through that test is not easy, and people struggle with it. So the idea is that you want the ones that are going to make it through.
Yeah.
So that's how I follow up with people to keep that communication going. And it really has saved me from losing people too, because I can recommend things. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but there's even online things on YouTube and stuff that I recommend my people go watch to help if they get stuck. So there's a phenomenal lady on YouTube called Insurance Exam Queen, where you can go and she does free videos and she breaks up the monotony. And I've had numerous people who are stuck on chapters watch that and then they breeze through it. So
It's Exam Queen.
There you go. She's phenomenal. She does paid classes, but almost everything on YouTube is free, and it just really helps the demonstration. It breaks up the reading monotony. It really does.
Yeah. I'm looking at her thing now. She's got about 80,000 subscribers on YouTube too. So that's how you know that's legit, right? So yeah, check that stuff out, right? And then within your IdealTraits account, there's, Excel solutions as well as some other pre-licensing providers that you guys get a discount from when using those companies, right? So ExamFX, Excel solutions, check those out, right? Those can help. And then you've got some other training programs that are in there too, right? Insurance Sales Labs, as well as Role Play at the Olson Agency, that can help you kind of post-hire, right? With making sure that your people are getting better with their scripts, which I'm sure we'll talk more about to it as we continue. All right, so we've got people in the funnel. We know their assessments. We're starting the interview process, right? So, obviously you mentioned like you got 21 interviews scheduled next week. Most people, it's hard to skip 5, right? So I'm sure people are interested. How do you get people to? How do you get interviews scheduled? How do you get people to show up? And then what do you do, if anything, that's unique in your process, right? We've heard people talk about doing role plays of fake companies. We've talked about going out to lunch or dinner with them, right? There's been a lot of writing a paragraph about their experience in the interview process, right? We've heard some unique things. So if there's anything unique, Josh, please point that out. But more importantly, how do you get butts and seats in interviews?
I'm very simple, guys. I wish I could be like, I've got this great idea that works really well. I'm a firm believer. Look, if you want to be a part of this, you're going to fall through. I have a recruiter that we will send out links. Here's the link. You schedule the interview when it works for you. Here's all the open times. It breaks down my schedule, what they can do. They are then going to get a follow-up email. Thank you for scheduling. I appreciate it. That's automated through Agency Zoom. We don't actually have to set it. And then they're going to get an email the night before. Remember, tomorrow is your interview. And if they have questions, it's always got, if you can't make it, please schedule the link to reschedule. So it gives them their options. Like everyone, I do struggle from time to time. I have last year, I think I had a no-show rate of almost 39%, which is hard. My days don't, if I've got things scheduled, it's great, but I continue to work. If something pops up and they're in there, they're great. That's wonderful. I am more of a one interview person. As far as taking them out to dinner, most people I don't meet in person. I want to hear them. I want to hear what they sound like because that's what they're going to be on the phone. We don't meet in my agency. I'm a small town. We don't get a lot of clients that walk in. They're going to be on the phone. They're going to be talking to people. I want to know how they're going to interact with that. I throw them curveballs all the time. Like I will tell them in my interviews, I'm going to make you fail because my job is to build you back up. That's my job. When you become an agency owner, you have to understand that you're going to fail at something. It's more important to learn how to get back up. And so I will throw curveballs at people all the time like that because people hear, well, I'm going to fail. Why would you want? I'm going to teach you how to get back up. One of my favorite interview questions when I'm interviewing someone, out of all your great job skills, which one is going to be the weakest when it comes to insurance? You can tell me about your strengths all day long. If the person knows what their weaknesses are, they are well in tune to what they are and what they need to work on, and they'll be more successful in my mind. If you have someone come in, they're like, "Oh, I'm great at everything." Yeah, are you?
What? Yeah, what? Yeah.
I wish I was. I'm not. I got lots of flaws. So.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I have a bunch of people here that have asked about the YouTube channel. What was her name again? Exam Queen, Insurance Exam.
Insurance Exam Queen. You'll know it's her because usually has multicolored hair. It's awesome. It's pink and black, or yellow and pink, or green.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, Varich, I got you. I'm going to throw, in case anybody didn't catch that again, I'm going to throw it as a texted answer here in the Q&A. So just go ahead and check that out, and you'll see it. Insurance Exam Queen. Hey, Rob, give me a call too, because I think my brother, he just moved to California and he tried to buy insurance for me, but I think he messed it up. So give me a call. I need to talk to you about that. Nonetheless, all right, there we go. And then, all right, so interviews, we've got them hired. Let's talk. We talked about leads. We talked about all that good stuff. Do you do, like, what's the training look like? Do you handle all the training? I know I talked about RPOA and Insurance Sales Labs. Do you subscribe to either of those, or anything maybe different that these folks can check out? But what's it look like sort of in that first couple of weeks as you're working to, make sure they get off to a hot start and feel as if they have the support to keep going,
My sales manager and I have worked really closely to try to make sure we have this set up. Again, providing information. We were talking before the meeting, before they even start, the 3 days before, I'm sending an email, what the dress code is, what they need to bring, where they can park, all that kind of stuff. So that they have a good understanding. When they get here, they're going to have access to a printout. I usually do a welcome gift. Hey, thank you for joining my agency. And then there's going to be a welcome list of all the stuff they have to do that we print out. But there's also an online manual that they're going to get. They get access to my Google Drive for all my staff has, and it's going to list all the staff, who they are, their names, what they do. I handle very little of the training anymore. I go out there, I meet them, I greet them, I talk with them. I'm gonna sit down for the first day and kind of go over stuff, but we're just gonna get their computer set up. Their first day, they're gonna hit the ground running. I do Insurance Sales Lab. I like it more for the idea of facing the objection, moving back in. I've met Vlad, he's an awesome guy. He's got a really good idea. I use it for the idea of how to deal with the objection and get back to the sale. The one that I use for more of my training is Michael Weaver Academy.
Sure.
And that's where he focuses on the 80-20 rule, 80% building rapport, 20% making the sale. And we really teach that. You have to know your customers. If I don't know that they have a business, if I don't know that they have a dog, if I don't know that they have kids, I can't properly cover them. And that's our job, is to cover them when some of their worst stuff happens. So we need to engage with our customers. It also builds more long-term relationships in my mind. They will stay with you longer because they trust you more. And that's really important to me. So we really try to focus on that. Those are the two companies that I use a lot of. But day one, they are given quote worksheets that they need to start getting filled out, because by day 4 or 5, it's really important that they have at least 5-10 of those filled out, because those are usually your first sales, your friends, your family, yourself. Once we get them through that process of working with that, they're also the people that are going to be more lenient if it takes a little longer on a quote, because they're not the ones on the phone going, I want insurance now. So we deal with that. We get them on the phone. We will also do role play where someone will call in. They don't know what's going to happen necessarily, but we're going to call in and we're going to give them a script. We're going to give them what they're going to be asking that person and walk them through everything. We also have, with almost all phone companies, they can listen to a call. So we will do phone shadowing, we call it. They will sit there and watch someone go through a quote where they can listen to the customer and the agent. They can see everything that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's hard to replace seeing it live in person, like you feel like you just learn. I know we've had Success Spotlight guests that are in fully remote teams, and they've talked about like have virtual Zoom rooms and things of that nature to sort of bring back or resemble the same effect, right? But I think that's great. All right. Sorry, Melissa, you were just saying thank you because you answered a question about remote and how she has license in 3 states, so she's wondering how that works. But Brandy did have a question that says, how do you keep your pipeline of people engaged? Or did we already answer that one? How do you keep your pipeline of people engaged after you get them passed on the background check to start the process of studying for their license?
And that is the weekly phone calls or the text messages or the emails, whatever it is. So do that every week. Background check is first, get them started on it. And then as soon as they submit that background check, at least how our district does it is we send them off all the training material as soon as they submitted that. In fact, sometimes they'll send it off early so they can try to get into it. We use ExamFX at our district. I like it. It works just fine. Kaplan's great too. I've used them before, but just whatever you
Yeah, absolutely. All right, very cool. Well, before we wrap up with Josh here, folks, and again, Josh, appreciate you for your time, man. You've answered some really big questions and some great stuff. I do want to show you guys because this week, we talk a lot about hiring people, but I'm sure Josh would agree to this too as well. Hiring a bunch of good people is nothing without being able to keep them, right?
Yep.
I'm sure we can all agree with that. So this week at IdealTraits, actually, just the other day, I think it was on Tuesday, we launched our new tool that I think I've introduced to you guys before, but it is our employees tool. So it is called Pulse. So you should see for everybody this sort of orange bar kind of right in your face at the top of your screen. And when you click on the employee section, it's going to take you to the Pulse dashboard. So for this, you're going to be able to see employees that you have added into the account or that you've hired through IdealTraits, and you'll be able to track them on multiple different aspects, right? So if I tap on Keegan here, who was gracious enough to allow me to show his, you can see that we're ranking on communication, support, workload, appreciation, and work schedule. So through this, each week, Keegan is able to give a score on how he's feeling on all of these different categories. And we do also have artificial intelligence that's in here to give you insight into how to handle those conversations if you have employees that are maybe, again, giving some, potentially lower scores in any of these categories. So a super great tool. I'm able to track the trend across every different category of how Keegan's been feeling, as well as look at the history in total throughout each week as he's been consistently filling it out. So again, guys, this is an opportunity for you to have those upfront, honest conversations with your employees about how they're feeling within different dimensions within their job, right? So use that tool, give it a try, send it to yourself, send it to maybe one or two of your employees, but get started with it because, again, hiring people is nothing if you can't keep them. And making sure that you have those honest conversations with them, you're able to honestly know how they're feeling and how you can improve their experience is super important too as well, right? Now, another thing I will say is that, again, we've been doing this Success Spotlight for 19 months in a row now. And I would love to get it to a point. Right now, we're averaging about 120 to 130 registrants per month. I would love to get it to where it's 200, 300, 400, 500. And of course, all of us, one way or another, work off referrals here. So what I would love for you to do is if everybody here could just take a second to think of one person that could benefit from Success Spotlight, fill out that referral link for me, and to say thank you, our team will send you a $20 Amazon gift card if it's someone who's not already using IdealTraits. So whether they're using it or not, please let them know. I'd love to reach out to them, get them involved in hearing conversations like Josh's because, geez, hiring 7 people over the last year, have 4 starting, all of this is such great information, right? So, Josh, as we do with every guest, to sort of end things here and to wrap it up, what would you say is the one thing that people should take away from today in terms of what they should implement into their process to make their recruiting process?
No matter what you want to do it, right? It doesn't matter whether it's you want to change, you just have to do something and stick with it. Don't get bogged down with I could do this, I could do that, I might do this. Pick something and do it every week. Pick something as a focus and do it. The key is get people in the door. If it means that you set a goal, 5 interviews a week, hire 1 person a month, whatever those goals are, set them and do it. Don't get lost in the, well, I could do, I might do, I should do. Give it a shot. If it doesn't work, you can always change. But if you do nothing, you're no better off than you are now.
Yeah, 100%. And Brandy, yes, there's a recording. We'll probably get it sent out tomorrow since it's already almost 4 o'clock here on the East Coast. So we'll get it sent out tomorrow. So anybody that maybe had to pop in and out, if you want to watch the recording, it'll be to you tomorrow. Kelly will get that sent out as she does. So again, a couple of key takeaways, as Josh had just mentioned and echoed. Be consistent, right? Set that goal and go after it and make it happen. If you're struggling to get applicants, reach out to our team, maybe for some job ad recommendations. Consider sponsoring your job ad, right? $50, depending on, obviously it depends on where you're located, right? But $50, as Josh had mentioned, get some 30 applications and hires people, right? So think about if you sponsor your job ad today, 50 applicants, hired somebody the next month, and they started writing 20, 30, 40 items for you in the next couple months, right? That would seriously impact your agency for the better. You all know it. I know it. Josh knows it. There is no better investment that you can make than investing into your current recruiting process and into your staff, right? So sponsor that job ad, use the assessment as a guide, and then obviously make sure that you have a genuine interest in how your employees are doing. And with that, you'll be able to keep them longer and be able to continue to grow the office to where you do. So Josh, again, thank you so much for everything that you do and everything that you've done. Again, Can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule. I mean, 21 interviews next week, and I got an hour of your time, or an hour and a half of your time this week. I'm incredibly appreciative. I know our folks that joined us here are too as well. And I'm sure, Josh, you'd be cool if they contacted you too, if anybody has any questions specifically.
100%. I'm always willing to help people. Again, I'm not the best at anything, but if anyone wants to reach out, they can certainly reach out to me. However we can set this up, I can provide an email, whatever works best. I'm always willing to listen, help, whatever is needed.
Perfect. All right. We'll send Josh's email out in the email that we send with the recording tomorrow. Okay. So that makes sure nobody misses it or doesn't get it from the chat, because we're about to close down here. So again, we'll get the recording sent out. We'll have Josh's email in there. I thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule, especially you, Josh. Thank you all again. We'll see you next month for our 20th edition of Success Spotlight. A little bit of a milestone there. And thank you all again for being here. Appreciate you, Josh. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.